Dr. Barry, licensed psychologist, and here we talk about psychology and true crime. So I saw this video. I'm going to share my screen. It was a video by Law and Crime, and that's where a lot of the details of this case, I'm getting it from this video, and I do have this full video linked down in the description. This video gets into a lot of the specifics of what happened, and the specifics are extremely triggering. And so I am not going to be covering the specifics. The victim in this case is a 15-year-old boy, and this is his stepmother. And right now, this is all allegations. And the way that the affidavit is written, I have heard stories like this before. It seems like he was so I can't say the word with a G, but it rhymes with broomed. And his father is the one that caught them in the middle. So I think the son was running away. The father worked late nights, and she had been making inappropriate comments to him all week. He normally lives with his mother, and he was visiting his father. And to me, the father's reaction, in my personal opinion, it was not appropriate. And when I work with victims of SA, one of my first questions to them is, how did the people around you respond when you came forward with the allegation? And the way that this was handled was incredibly, because there's already some shame that can come when you're the victim of this type of incident. And in our society, we say that, especially a step parent is in a caregiving role, and a step parent should not at any time be having intimate contact with their stepchildren. That is, I can't believe I have to say that. That is incredibly inappropriate. She has had her nursing license suspended. So this case comes out of Florida. Let me take a step back. So let's take a step back. I do have a link to this article down in the description as well. But her name is Alexis. No, yes, y'all know me and names. Alexis Von Yates. Here it says that she's 34, but when I looked up her inmate information, they have 35. When was her birthday? Oh, wow. And I think because I have a booking date of November of 2024. That's based on some information that was linked in this article. I think a lot of this is coming. Yeah. So the incident happened July 30th of 2024. Okay. So she was arrested on November 6th of 2024 and charged with lewd or lascivious behavior targeting a minor age 12 to 16. And then I believe those charges have been upgraded to, it's something to the effect of inappropriate activity with a child under your care. So I do think that the charge has been upgraded since then, and Law and Crime goes through all of those details. And the allegation starts with they were just so it's the stepmother and the 15-year-old son. They were playing a video game, just talking while the father worked late, and they decided to watch a movie. And she, according to the teenager, she made comments about how horny she was and that she hadn't had sex in weeks. It's my understanding that she went on to like graphically compare the 15-year-old's genitals to his father's. And because the way that Law and Crime covered it, the guest on that show talked about that this was emasculating the father. But to me, this is his 15-year-old son. And I always center the victim in this case. Like, because so the father's reaction when the father caught them, like when the father walked in and the son was like running away, not really clothed, and she didn't have a bra on, and like he walked in and is like, "What the f?" Understandably, but then he goes to the steps to his son because this is the father, the biological father of the 15-year-old. the 15-year-old thought his father was gonna physically, like, spank him or, like, hit him with a belt or something, like, he thought he was gonna get in trouble, and, like, no, like, this is his wife. Like, to me, in this situation, he needs and he ended up having a very heated conversation with her. She allegedly made allegations that it wasn't consensual, but the way that everything is described, and especially the way that the 15-year-old has said that she kept making statements, seductively, like eating certain types of food, and like for the previous week she had kind of been coming on to him. He didn't have any other sexual experience, and it's not appropriate for a child to be for an adult to take advantage of a child, because she had a position of privilege and power in this situation that did not make this an equal setting. This is similar to a teacher or a somebody that's in a caregiving role, that's supposed to care and take care of children, or a coach. And we see situations like this all the time, which is why I wanted to talk about it. There are people that will try to blame the male victim in this case. And Law and Crime did talk about the importance of flipping it, because if it had been a stepfather that had been caught with his stepdaughter, normally we would be like, oh, like everybody, there wouldn't be even 15 years old, a 15-year-old stepdaughter, everybody would immediately would blame the father. Male victims of SA, sometimes their pain is minimized, and that's why I really wanted to talk about and cover this case, because how we react in those first moments, because it's my understanding that the father drove his child to the grandparents' house, and it's my understanding that the family did not want the 15-year-old to come forward with what happened, and I think the father was embarrassed by it, and to me, the father doesn't have anything to be embarrassed of. I honestly think, even if I don't think this happened because maybe there were some intimate issues in their relationship, because, like, the 15-year-old should have never been an option, and it's my understanding that this is according to the 15-year-old, that there had been inappropriate comments, that she had made, and these are once again all allegations, about when people saw them together, she wondered if people thought he was her boy toy, and that's where, like, that's not appropriate to say about your stepchild. Like, that's just not appropriate, and so I think in her mind, I think she had been fantasizing about this. I think this is a strong thought, and these are just my personal thoughts and opinions. Um, Based on everything I've seen, and she's gonna have a trial. I believe the date is in, let me check if maybe they already had maybe they already had a bond hearing. I don't see anything about an actual court date, um, yet, but if this is made public, because I wonder if they'll have any psychologists come in to talk about a victim's state of mind, because this whole situation, this whole incident, the way it was handled, the way the way that it was reported, and what I've heard, this child, it seems like the adults didn't really come around and protect him once they realized what had happened. I think it got to a point where then they were like, "Okay, yes, we do want to report this," because it happened in July. I think there was a period of time between when it happened and when it was reported. And, it's just, he did the forensic interview, and, and for me, even if a 15-year-old is flirting with their step parent, or if they're flirting with adults, to me, it's still on the adult to have appropriate behavior. And that's just the adult is the one with the fully developed brain. Um, I am 42 years old, and my my husband is 3 years younger, and I joke about the fact that when I was a senior in college at Virginia Tech, he was a freshman. So he was about 18 and I was like 18, 19, 20. So I was about 21. And if he had come tried to talk to me when I was 21 and he was 18, I would have been like, "Little boy, like, no, sir." No, no. Mm-mm. Because I was preparing to go off to graduate school. He was just a freshman in college. No. I would not have dated him. I'm so glad that we met when I was once I was licensed and we met, we dated and married, child, all of that stuff. Nick Pigeon, I love this. Fully developed brain adults need to protect the still developing children. Yes. And when we talk about P files, so the way that's within psychology, the way that we often look at P files is prepubescent. Because morally, we say you should not have inappropriate, like adults shouldn't be with people under the age of 18. Like that's just what we say. Thank you so much. And uh but I do think that we do have to acknowledge an adult can have an attraction to a child, but you don't act on it. And that's where if people are having thoughts, if they're thinking about acting on those things, that's where they need better boundaries. They need to put some things in place. But I think um things escalated in a way that's really common in grooming situations. So, like I said, Law and Crime goes through the nitty-gritty. The details are stomach churning, like it's graphic, and, I personally did not want to read through or go through all of that again. The thing I wanted to focus on was the family reaction, and I can have empathy. So, I have a ton of empathy for the father in this situation because his whole marriage, but it's my understanding that something to the effect might have been said that the son ruined the father's marriage. And it's like, no, sir, your wife, like your hopefully ex-wife, but like she's the one that agreed to this relationship. We don't go after the child. You just don't in a situation like this. The adults have to do better. I think the same thing with affairs. So if I found out that my husband was having an affair, I have nothing to say to the other person, absolutely nothing. I have things to say to my partner, to the person that I agreed to be in a relationship with, and then we talk, we figure out, we have a closed relationship, and uh, uh, I personally do not stay after something like that, but that's just my own personal thing. I have worked with couples that have healed after affairs or infidelity within a closed relationship. And that is very difficult work. Add in that it's your child. Like that is something that no one would ever be prepared for. But that's where you can't react in that situation. Walking in, seeing a situation like that, I think it was smart to remove the child from that situation that night. I don't think it was good because it's my understanding that the child was told to not tell his mother. The child was told to keep this, like, to not talk about it. And that's where we all know that something's wrong because if everything's okay, why should we why should we be feeling this way? Does anyone in the chat know how long the father and stepmother? Because it's my if my memory serves me correct, I thought it was at least 5 years. I thought it was at least 5 years that she had been his. It wasn't new. It wasn't a new relationship. I thought it had been at least 5 years. Okay, maybe 10. So that's where I remembered about so y'all, I have the links to everything if you want to go back and check out the specifics. Um, in the article I have, they don't have the amount of time that the father and her had been married. So I'm not sure. All right. So maybe relationship for 10 years, married for a period of time. But it wasn't a new relationship. And the child wasn't with them on a regular basis. I don't say any of that to excuse anything. My brain is just trying to help understand. And once again, if there are problems in the relationship, the adults have to work it out. The children are never an option. Like this just because sometimes you hear about adoptive parents ending up having inappropriate things with their adopt, and so like you leave kids alone. Did you say the father's parents didn't want to report it? So what I said was, it's my understanding that the child was told by the father, and I don't know. So, but it's my understanding the people that knew did not want the child to tell his mother. That's my understanding. Law and Crime did a detailed review of the affidavit. It's my understanding that the affidavit is very graphic, and because the language the child used, even the person taking the report, they acknowledged that child, like that it was said in a way, and the details that were given, that was common in cases where it could be proven that something had occurred. And so it does not look like this is a false allegation. That's what the professionals that have met with this child, that's what they think, and that's how they feel. I do have resources because 1 in 6 males. So this is just the numbers that we have, because numbers that we have for girls, 1 in 3 girls are likely to be SA'd during their lifetime. For males, it's 1 in 6. And so I have some resources in the description, because if anybody knows somebody, if anybody has been, and then if my child ever comes to me, if I find a situation where something inappropriate has happened, I can't react, because my reaction can scare my child. My reaction can make my child feel like they did something wrong. And the thing that I want that 15-year-old to know, he did nothing wrong. Like this was he didn't do anything wrong. This was a confusing, this was a awkward, a weird, this was the and an adult, based on the allegations, an adult didn't keep him safe. And I don't think the father knew that anything like that. And that's where I wish the 15-year-old could have let somebody know that his stepmom was being weird with him. Because if I had a client, a 15-year-old client that told me that there was an adult in their life that was making those types of jokes with them, that was making sexual jokes with them, because sometimes that is a part of that grooming process, where the adult is trying to desensitize the child to that type of language, and then things can slowly escalate. And that's where I want to try to keep kids safe. Like that's my goal. um I don't give blind trust to anyone. um Unfortunately, the individuals who are most likely, because sometimes people are afraid of, like, a stranger in a bathroom, or I don't know, like, people often are afraid of stranger situations, but often it's easier for kids to come and report when it's a stranger, because there was no illusion of safety. Like, the child doesn't have a relationship with this person. It's still not appropriate. It's still, situations with, inappropriate things do happen like that. What's more likely to happen is a intimate partner situation, or a so family member, family friend, coach, doctor. That's what is more likely to happen. And that's why I always check in with my kid to be like, hey, are you okay? So I was at Sky Zone today and something bothered me. And I couldn't tell the person, so I will tell you all. There was about a 2-year old, maybe like a 2 to maybe 2.5 or 3-year-old kid. And Sky Zone has a big, like, foam mat and a parent was throwing the little boy onto the mat. And the boy was like was saying no, that they didn't like it, and the parent was like, "But you're laughing." And every time the parent threw the child on the mat, the child said that they didn't like it. And the psychologist in me is just like wanting to like the child is saying like this is confusing. It's like I'm like this is so we wanna teach children body autonomy very, very young, and I want my son to know that no means no, and if he tells me there's something that he doesn't like, that we talk about it. Now, we did have a situation, I think when he was, like, 6 or I think it's 6 years old, maybe 6 or 7, when we were at his pediatrician at the regular checkup. So the pediatrician with mom and dad in the room does just have to like take a look at his genitals to make sure that everything is okay. And our pediatrician tells him like that there are certain that's a private area, and that like just the pediatrician did a really good job tr- you know talking about consent and everything, because my son was like, "No, I don't want you to take a look." And it was like and the doctor had to, like, look at us and kinda be like, "Ooh," like, "This is a situation where this is a part of your medical checkup." And the doctor did not touch our child at all. Like, it was just she did what he was most comfortable with, and, like, I was comfortable with what happened, my husband was, but when we were at Sky Zone and this little two-year-old is saying that he didn't like it, um, I would explain to him that, like, "Okay, so if you don't like it, we're gonna stop. But if you really do, then you have to say again." Like, if you really do want me to throw you into the mat again, you say again. You say yes. But if you say no, I'm gonna stop. And I just but it's because of the work I do. So a large part of the work that I do is working with developmental trauma, CPTSD, and boundaries are incredibly important. Um, I don't I don't do touch in so I don't use touch in therapy. I have worked with kids that needed physical support in session, and I'll normally go and get their parent if they're okay with their parent being the one that hugs them and cuddles with them and supports them. We do that, but that I'm never. I'm nope. I'm nope. Because if anybody ever says Dr. Nope, that Dr. Barry, nope, I do not. Nope. We do side hugs in the lobby. If people ask and that I have the right to say no, that's just how I handle things. Boundaries are so important, and it's really important that these things are taught at a very young age. My child does not have to hug his grandparents. So I work with teenagers that are forced to hug family members that they don't like, family members that they're uncomfortable with, family members that they kind of get, that they really, and nothing inappropriate has happened with the family member, but I want to teach my clients to trust themselves. And children can sometimes get like a ick, they get a feeling, and it's just like, I don't really want to hug that person. And so my child, he has the option, okay, are we gonna high five grandma? We gonna give grandma a fist bump? Like how is this gonna go? Because once again, I want to teach body autonomy. And I want to go back that um, I do think that even for the father in the situation, if this had been his daughter, I think he would have reacted different. And I do think that as people, we have to remind ourselves of this bias that can sometimes happen when we're talking about victims of SA. And probably like 20, 30 years ago, there used to be rappers that used to brag about their first time being when they were 13 with their mother's best friend or something. But now we realize that that's inappropriate. So you can take the iPad, and then I need about 10 more minutes before you come in. Okay. Good job. Please close my door. I let the kiddo know that this wasn't one that he could be in the office for. So I love my physical space. Just I love my physical space, and if I'm working with somebody where culturally physical touch is a part of their culture, or if it's we would have to talk about how my boundary and what they need in therapy, how can we accommodate both? Because for some clients, if they're crying, they might be okay with me coming. So I have a really long couch in my office, and if they're sitting at one end, they might be okay with me coming and sitting on the other end. Or I have 2 chairs that are kind of facing each other. If they're sitting in one chair, that maybe I get a little closer, but that I just don't physically give them touch. I do have a weighted blanket in my office, and so for some clients, I've asked, so if they come in really, really escalated, or if during the session they get really escalated, I sometimes ask if they would like ice, if they would like, because we're trying to ground ourselves in our bodies, and and so I'll offer them different things, but physical touch is just never an option from me. They can bring a family friend, like, if they know they're gonna talk about something important. Even my adult clients can bring somebody they trust into a session that can be there to support physically, but just that it's not gonna be me. Unfortunately, in my area, there was a therapist that was not appropriate, and, I saw, a few of his clients, and everybody knew that something was weird and something was off, but and eventually somebody came forward, and then all these people came forward with allegations, and the clinic that he was working at served underprivileged youth. He was arrested. After he was convicted, he later died at his own hands in jail, but he did get through the conviction process. And I think the victims gave victim impact statements, because I was able to support a few in getting their victim impact statements together. And because of the work I do, I have very, very strict boundaries with things like that. Um, it's just it's so sad. Some of the red flags is an adult messaging children on, like, Snapchat, but, like, the conversation is inappropriate. So I have some teenage cousins, and but we text. Like, we're not talking on Snapchat, we're not talking on WhatsApp, like, we might text message, and it's not really frequent, because when we see each other, we see each other. I'm a little bit closer with the cousins that are closer to my age, and the younger cousins, they're all kinda close to one another. Um but even with my teen clients, they can text me if they're going to be late or if they need to change their appointment, but that they're not texting me on a regular basis. That we're not having that communication outside of our sessions. Because I think sometimes adults, they can start to slowly cross those boundaries, and I think those boundaries are really important. Um, yeah. Really, really sad. All right. So, any other questions about this one? I will give a few more minutes just to make sure that there weren't any more questions about this case before we shift to Lori Vallow. I thought we would be done until, like, Brandon Boudreaux's trial, but Lori filed requesting a new trial. Because, and let me share. So I saw it on Hidden True Crime. Okay, let me share my screen. Share this tab. Right. And I saw the statement, and other lawyers talked about the statement too, but there's a statement that this juror made, and I think he misspoke, because this juror made a statement about seeing the convictions the night before. And if this interview was the day of the verdict, then if he did see something before, then that would be a problem. But he did a full interview with Hidden True Crime. I did watch that one as well. And in that longer video, he made it very clear that he knew nothing about the case, and that if something had come to his knowledge before the verdict, that he would have informed the judge. So he said that that didn't happen, but there is this statement, and once again, I don't know exactly when this statement was given. He says something to the effect of he kind of felt sorry for her, and that she was serving 3 life sentences, and he was aware of what happened to the children. And he said in his car the night before, but once again, I don't know exactly what day this interview was taken, but Lori was informed. Her advisory council saw it, and she was informed of it. And this was one of the many reasons that she's requested a new trial. Another reason that she requested, I think there were 5 together, maybe 5 or so. Um, this video that I have linked down in the description goes into all of her reasons. She also talked about that she was upset that Tylee and Alec's statement weren't able to be introduced. And that's where Hidden True Crime made a good point of like, well, also Charles's body cam, where Charles tells the police that he's afraid that she's gonna kill him, that one was withheld as well. And I don't think the jury, I don't know if it would have mattered if Tylee had introduced the bat. I don't know even if Tylee's statement had come in, because Lori was able to say the story, like, because they were able to hear what Lori said happened. And I don't think Tylee's would have been any different, but she's that's one of the reasons she's filed for a new trial. Marissa, if that's true, wow. Um, wow. I think they did a really good job maintaining the record of why they did certain things. I also remember Sarah Boone filed for a new trial. James Owen submitted about the outburst that when George's mom, because she had never seen the suitcase video, and she became tearful and just had to leave. And but her attorney asked, no, the judge asked her attorney, "Do you want a special, like, do you want me to say something to the jury? Like, what do you want to do?" And they were like, "Okay, we'll just keep going." And so I think this will be a similar thing where it's normal for a defendant to file for a new trial. I don't think that she'll have anything that'll stand. I could say, I could see juror Carl possibly having to get called back in to have like a closed chamber meeting with the judge, because they might have to clarify, did you know anything before the verdict? He might have to, under penalty of perjury, he might have to give a statement to talk about if he did know something before. Yeah. All right. All right. Let me see what Lisa said. Am I the only person who thinks he was sabotaged, fell for Lori's baby talk? So when I saw his interview with Hidden True Crime, Carl really harped on there not being direct evidence. So I think he was looking for a direct Lori saying, "Let's kill him," or something. Like, I think he was looking for something that was more direct, when the state's case was very circumstantial. I was a strong, very, very strong circumstantial case. And some of it was because some of the ways they talked was in code and in analogies. And but when because juror Carl said he was not guilty up until the state's closing arguments. Then when the state put everything together, put the whole story together, but he was a holdout um, until I think their second day of deliberation, because they deliberated for like an hour that first day, and then they came back the second day, and that eventually he changed, because he initially was thinking, he was kind of on the fence, and then he changed to guilty, and he strongly thinks that she's guilty, and he doesn't regret that verdict. So when he did find out, this is according to those interviews I've watched of him, that once he did find out about her other convictions and all the other things that had happened, the fact that she's convicted of killing Tylee, that he's happy with the verdict, but, yeah, and the state made the point that because Lori's so upset about Tylee's statement not getting in, but ma'am, you're convicted of killing her. Like, you don't get to take out a witness and then be upset that now their statement is hearsay. You you don't get to have it both ways, and, of course, Lori wants all the things. She's very, very entitled. She thinks she should have it all, and, her request for a new trial is typical. So I don't think there was anything out of the ordinary. I think her attorneys tried to find, or not her, because she's representing herself still, but I do think she has advisory counsel that might have said, "Hey, you might wanna look into this," or that might be helping her formulate things. Yeah. And so Carl, juror 15, said that he Googled before he left the court and he had no knowledge, and that he thought that she was innocent for a long time. Yep. So Lori won't even admit that Tylee being gone is a bad thing, because Lori's like, I talked to her, she's fine in heaven. Like Lori's uh, her delusions protect her ego, her frame of reference, her perception. Her ego is extremely fragile, and she's just what Helen said. I have no thoughts. Let me know if y'all have any other questions. I did watch the Emily D. Baker and also Kurt's coverage of the Karen Reed trial. I'm not going to talk about it a lot. I did see the cross examination because her defense seems to be bringing, like, they seem to be handling things in, a decent way, trying to point out inconsistencies in testimony, especially the witnesses that the defense believes, because they use the word colluded. Like, that's the word the defense used, the words that the certain people got together to get their story together. Um, I don't blame you for not being, it moves very, very slowly. And so I do like catching updates. Emily D. Baker puts what's it, timestamps. And so I'm able to skip ahead to the interesting parts. And so I did think that that cross-examination was interesting, because yeah, the defense was trying to get a witness to admit that, like, hey, your statement is completely different, and they would show her inconsistencies and she'd be like, nope, that doesn't refresh my memory, or my memory is what's right. It's like, ma'am, the data location puts you at your house and then going to this other place, and she's like, I don't remember doing it that way. And for me, the GPS information is likely more accurate than her memory. Andrea, so there's a lawyer named Andrea. She's also been covering it, because Emily D. Baker normally starts late, and I had a break on what's it called, on Friday, so I was able to watch over there. Okay, um, I am gonna have a new office, and so, I'm getting some furniture, and so at the beginning of June, I will be in a new work office, and I plan to give you all a tour of my new work office. Some of the items that I have are for sale in my Amazon shop, affiliate link. If you don't like Amazon, stay away from it. And the reason why I'm moving, our lease is up. And so I was able to find another location that meets my needs. And I'm really, really excited about it. But this picture is in my Amazon shop. And I think it's on Office. I think it's in my my Amazon, I think it's like My Office or something, but, it has, like, little I absolutely love it. I have a different one that's a tree in my work office, and I'm gonna be putting things together to decorate. I'm gonna paint the walls and do all the things, so I am excited about that. Jen McCabe, she was the one. Uh, I questioned her credibility. That's the way I'll say it. I question her credibility. I love cherry blossoms, and so, it gives me that kind of vibe, and there's, like, this gold it's like, I don't know, like, it just has a good feel, and so I have something really similar, and so I'm really excited about the new office. It's gonna be very similar to my current office, but I'm gonna do my setup a little different. So I might do like a before and after. I might record something or take some pictures of my current setup and then show y'all the new setup. Because my windows are gonna be in a different location. And for my brain, like I need things to be a certain way. And for where the windows are, I need to rearrange some things, and so I'm excited about it. Kirkland's might have something like it. I love Kirkland's. I ended up getting it on, Amazon, but yes. Oh, cherry blossoms are your wife's favorite. I went to the Cherry Blossoms Festival, I think 8 years ago, because I think it was the season before I ended up, before yeah, before I was pregnant. And so in 2016, I, went to the Cherry Blossom Festival in DC. It was absolutely beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. Um, in the tidal basin, it was super, super cool. It is just if you love cherry blossoms, I have allergies, and so I have to take Benadryl before I go, but it's super cool. Thank y'all for being here. Thank y'all for watching. Um, I think I might make the hair a little blonder in July, maybe, but I will definitely give y'all I'll warn you for when it's gonna change. Because I think I'm gonna let it grow out a little bit, and then I think July, I'm gonna right before my birthday in August, I'm gonna do that again. So we'll see. Yes. And so, the ones in the tidal basin, they were a gift from Japan. But yeah, so Washington, DC has a cherry blossoms festival every year. Yep, yep, yep. Washington, DC. I am in Northern Virginia, and so and really, I was going to my therapist. My therapist was in Bethesda, and I used to take the metro in, and, I think it was after my therapy session, I got off whatever stop was right there for the festival and walked around. It was super cool, and then I went home, but yeah. Thank you, and also blonde helps cover grays. Lighter helps the grays not stand out as much. I have a whole bunch of grays. In Atlanta, you have a dogwood festival. Cool. I think that's the one. I think my husband is really allergic to dogwoods. Cherry trees are not big in Australia. Yep. So the cherry blossoms, it was a gift from Japan. Yes, to Washington, DC. All right. I'm so glad that we got to chat today. I will see y'all on Tuesday. If there's a case that you would like for me to cover, y'all can always put it in the regular comments. I do pay attention to that. This case, the case of the 15-year-old boy, that one just broke my heart. And I wanted to just speak to a different response that a family can have that helps support the mental health of the victim, the survivor, because how the family reacts can have a big role in whether or not somebody develops full blown PTSD, starts to have like it can really affect somebody's healing. Even if even if a family has a perfect response, somebody can still develop PTSD symptoms. But in my more severe cases, when the family denies it, tries to act like it's normal, when things are minimized, when the victim is blamed, when people don't really believe them, that normally causes additional issue like that. I normally see more anxiety, more trauma symptoms, that normally makes the healing process a lot harder for that victim. Because often when people are in the situation themselves, they're already kind of blaming themselves. They're already kind of thinking, like, did I do something wrong? And when your family is saying the same thing, it can just make everything a lot harder. And so, uh, there was a teacher in Illinois that said she's being framed because she's too pretty, and that's where I wonder what evidence they have, because normally there are, like, some snapshots, so that's where I wonder if there are, uh let me see if I can find it real quick. So, yep, it looks like that is from the allegation is against a 15-year-old. The charges she had, uh, mm, okay. Hmm. And the allegation out of Illinois, it's a 30-year-old special education teacher that has been charged. The victim's mother found messages between her son and the because Formella is the teacher's name. Let me share the screen. Let me share it. Let's go ahead and chat about it now. Okay. Let's close that. All right. And so Christina Fomella, I might be saying that wrong. 30-year-old special education teacher that has had charges, and there are explicit texts between the teacher who was married to a soccer coach, and but the messages are between the teacher and the student. The teacher denies it, and that's where people shouldn't have, that's where I'm talking about, don't it normally starts with with chatting on Snapchat or something. Like, that's the first boundary that's broken. And, there's allegedly a message from the teacher that says, "I love having sex with you," red flag. And so, I'm not surprised that she's been arrested and charged, and I guess her defense is gonna be like, "Everybody thinks that I'm too pretty," and, uh, yeah. There is a ton of evidence, um and so that's where when your child has a phone. So something that I do with my clients is we talk about what to do when somebody message them about something inappropriate. Like, when they receive an inappropriate message, what can they do about it? Because if my child has a teacher add them on Snapchat and then start sending them inappropriate messages, I want my child to come and tell me, like, "Hey, mommy, this is weird." Like, because normally the child knows. Like, normally they're, like, aware that, like, this isn't normal, this is this secret, and that's where it's like, no, like, adults don't need to have secrets with children. Like if we have a birthday party, or but there shouldn't be something that's happening that's a secret. So I do therapy with teenagers, and I let the teenagers I'm working with know that, like, what they tell me is confidential, but, like, what I say, so if they ever had an issue with something I said, that they can go and talk to their parents about it. Now, sometimes I jokingly, so, like, if somebody, like, has a parent that's has some narcissistic traits or something, I might be like, "Hey, I'm not saying your parent has narcissism, but, like, just looking at some of the criteria. If you tell them, I'm gonna deny it." Like, I sometimes make jokes like that, but, there's never anything that I've said in therapy that my client can't tell their parent. Like, it's just not gonna happen. Um uh, yeah, I'm too pretty. People just automatically assumed. If there are messages that said you've done the thing, I'm not gonna think this was a fantasy, or like this was like a joke, or a teacher shouldn't be joking with a student that way. They shouldn't be messaging a child those types of things. I would suspect that the allegation is likely true, And, yeah, people, like, don't do crimes. Like, don't don't do crimes. Your phone tracks when you unlock it, when you do all the things, like, just don't don't do it. Don't do it. Uh, and so, I do wish, the victims in those cases, and I don't know that there's more teachers, female teachers, that something's happening with male students. I think what's common now is that we know it's a problem. Because, like I said, about 20 years ago, if a teacher had been caught with something like this, they might have they might not have pressed charges. Like, it's that maybe the teacher would have lost their job. It should have been reported because that's child SA, because you're in a role of power. You're a teacher. You're not supposed to do anything with a student. I think there were a lot of males that didn't come forward. I've worked with males that are in their, like, 35 on up to 50 or 60, and that have reported being victims, of SA as a child, and their family does not know to this day. And so that's where I just think this was underreported in the past. I don't necessarily think that it's happening more than it used to happen. I think we now teach kids, and kids know that it's not okay. And, I'm glad. Like, I think that's a positive thing. And, um yeah, a a child and a teacher should not be communicating on social media. Now, I've heard that sometimes with, like, sports groups, they'll have a special, like, WhatsApp group, or they'll have where they communicate about practice times, or they'll have a group chat that includes the coach. Like, I've heard that sometimes, certain coaches, so if they play football or basketball, baseball, that sometimes they'll require communication on an app like that. If my child had to do that, I would just act like I'm super nosy. Not so it would just depend. It would, 'cause, like, why can't the parents be, 'cause my child, if he's under the age of 16, he can't drive. Like, I need to know about the practice too. Ah, your son's school is using the Remind app. Cool. And it's monitored by the school. I like that. I like that. All right. All right. Thank y'all for watching and hanging out with me on this Saturday. I will see y'all on Tuesday. Drink your water. Okay. Watch something funny. Take care of yourself. Uh, the one case, it's a really, really heavy case. And like I said, I do have links to the longer videos down in the description. If you do watch the long crime video, please be prepared. There's a lot of triggering things, including the guest. I didn't fully agree with the guest that was on long crime, because to me there was some almost, the way things were said, it was almost as though, because the words that the son emasculated the father, like, that's those were words that were said in there, and Jesse Waters tried to come back to say, like, "Oh, no, but, like, he's a child," and so Jesse would try to clear it up, but it was very triggering for me. I I watched it because I knew I was gonna talk about it, but I was not a fan of that particular, yeah. There were a lot of good details that was shared, and so that's why I watched it, because I wasn't gonna read the full affidavit, but, it was almost that, "What was she wearing?" type thing, and it's like, I don't care if somebody is walking down the street, booty out. Like, I don't care. People should not be touched if they don't want to be. Like, people need consent, and children can't give consent. And I think in Florida, the age of consent for like, teacher parent type relationships, it might be like 16 or 17. I'm not sure. I'd have to Google it. But adults shouldn't be with young people. I will go ahead and talk about Shannon Sharp. Ooh. So Shannon Sharp is being sued for, there are some charges. There's an allegation by a former girlfriend, I don't know, partner, or somebody that he had been with in the past. And when they met, I think he was 54 and she was 19. I think she's now like 20 something, and she's filed a 50 million dollar lawsuit against him. And he's likely going to sue her back for defamation. And some tapes have been released, some things have been released. And Monique had told him, so there's a comedian named Monique, and a comedian named Monique had told him to stop messing with young girls a long time ago. Like she had been like, don't mess, like, mm. And I don't think it's the person's age. I don't think that's a problem. I do have an issue. Sometimes there are people, and I'm not saying this is what Shannon Sharp was doing. I'm just saying when an older person dates a younger person, there's an aspect of control. There's an aspect of like, because there is a power difference. We didn't watch the same cartoons. Like we don't have the same references. And so when if someone who's in their 50s is dating someone that's 19, there is a bit of a difference here. And people have to be careful. And it sounds like she tried to according to her lawsuit, she's alleging that, like, when she wanted to end things with him, that he would get angry, and that, trigger warnings for SA, she has allegations of SA on 2 different incidents, I believe, and I don't know if it's true or not, but people have to be careful, so even in a relationship, so my husband is not entitled to my body, like, mm, so that my body autonomy, that my husband does not, so if I had a boyfriend or a girlfriend, that my partner does not own me, does not own my body, and that people get to leave relationships when they want to. And we'll see what happens with it. I will definitely be following it. Um uh I think she's an OnlyFans model, and so I do just wonder because her name is out there, and um her picture is out there, and I think some things had been recorded. I remember back in the I think it was last year, because there was an audio that was released on Instagram because he accidentally went live in the middle of an intimate interaction with them, between the two of them. And it's my understanding that things might have ended between them after that, I think shortly after that, and the whole thing is just a big mess. Um, it does break my heart, so trigger warning for, um, for somebody, because I think hopefully we all know, sadly, I can't say her last name, but Virginia, she was one of the victims that came forward against, y'all know me in names. I know his name. If you hadn't asked me, I would have known it. Yes, Jeffrey Epstein. Epstein. Um, that she unfortunately was a fierce warrior in the fight against SA, and she had been a longtime victim of SA and trafficking. And my heart breaks for her family. And yes. And so that's what we were all, so I don't know if maybe the girl, so I don't know what happened, because to go live on Instagram, it's a process. You have to, like, it's a process to go live on Instagram. So I don't know how, but it was his lot, it was on his Instagram, because yeah, because he tried to say he was hacked, but it was clearly his. And so um I think there were also allegations. I think she also made allegations against, Prince Andrew as well. And so, my heart breaks, um, um, and that's where I like to talk about healing. I like to talk about, um, how people can find their control and their power back, and how they can build the life that they want to live. And, because when that power has been can feel like it was taken, or when parts of yourself, when you kinda go through things like that, it can really be hard for people. And so, my heart breaks for the family. I tell all of my clients that, they matter and that, like, I care. So if they ever get that thought that no one cares, please know I care. And if you're in the United States, 988 is the crisis hotline. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So we get to start off Mental Health Awareness Month, talking about these topics. And 988 people can text or call, and there are a lot of other crisis hotlines as well that are specific to different groups. So there's one for individuals that are LGBTQ. Um, there are a bunch of different hotlines. One's for specifically for intimate partner violence. Uh, there are a bunch of different hotlines, and so but 988 is the national one, and, yes. All right. I appreciate you all, and I will see y'all on Tuesday. Have a good one. Bye.